very few first sections of this bill are labeled budget provisions. And if I can actually just find the page of my document where I have all this. Okay, I think it starts on page 2. There are, in the very first few sections, something that we refer to as earmarks, which are effectively set-asides. These are dollar amounts that are just named in a bill, typically a budget bill, but they can also show up in an emergency certified bill that is circumventing the budget process, like today. And these are items where we're just directing money. The sum of X amount of dollars will be given to X entity. And this is something that we've come accustomed to, unfortunately, in recent years, where the majority is placing these earmarks in emergency certified bills or even in a budget without any public hearing process ahead of time. Now, normally, I would say that if you were trying to do legislation the right way, before the state of Connecticut awarded someone's tax money, the people back home that I represent, we ought to tell them exactly who this entity is and why we're giving them the money, who asked for the money. They should know these things, right? But when you just stick it in an emergency certified bill, there's only one chance to get any of that information, and that's right now. Right now is the only chance we're going to have. There's no hearing. This was never put before any committee. It's just now is our chance to ask these questions. So I just want to ask, and I want to state for the record that not all of these are necessarily bad things. You know, some of these items go to perfectly legitimate companies, organizations, boys and girls clubs I mentioned. That's fine. I got no issue with that, although I do believe that they should still go through the process. We should know what the money is going to be used for. We should know which lawmakers have asked for it and why. There should be some mechanism to audit those dollars to make sure they're actually used for that purpose, right? So a number of these items are enumerated on the first few pages of the bill. And the first one I want to ask about is in section 6. And it's simply because I don't know what this organization is. This is on lines 28 through 31 of the bill. It says the sum of $70,000 is appropriated to the Judicial Department under other expenses, and it shall be made available for a grant to the Village Initiative Project. So through you, Madam President, can I ask the good chairman of the Appropriations Committee what this organization is, where it's located, who's asked for this grant, and what is the purpose of the money, the $70,000, through you?
And through you, this is the Village Initiative Project is a college prep program that is located in Bridgeport. It clarifies the intent that $70,000 previously appropriated through the judicial branch's OE line must be granted to the Village Initiative Project. So this is clarifying language for something that happened last year in the biennial budget to clarify that this program is by this name located in Bridgeport and that it is a college preparatory program. Through you, Madam President. Through you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Sampson.
Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate the good chairman of the Appropriations Committee for that answer. But can I have the rest of the information too? Which is who asked for this particular item to appear in today's document, and what is this money going to be used for? I know you said a college preparatory program, but is it for a salary for someone who's helping assist college preparation, or is it for scholarships? What's it for? Through you.
No idea who asked for this to be in today's document. It is not something that I am privy with, and relative to what this program will use it for is to get more students to go through the college preparatory program in Bridgeport. Through you.
Thank you, Senator Sampson.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I don't mean to be a pill. I really don't. But when the purpose is to get more people to go through this college preparatory program, that's not really an answer. What is the money used for? How are we going to get more students to go through this program? Through you.
Thank you, Senator Osten.
Thank you very much, Madam President. And through you, the program will then have more resources available to allow more students to come through their program. Through you.
Thank you, Senator Sampson.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Hey, forgive me, this is a very uncomfortable position to be in. I will let folks who are watching know that I'm asking questions, and I have a lot of respect for my colleague, but clearly I don't think she knows the real answer to the question I'm asking, which is why I'm getting kind of a circular answer about, well, it's to help this program. Well, it's to aid more in helping the program. It's not, Senator, this money is going to be used to pay a salary for an individual whose day-to-day operation would include XYZ. That's what I need. I want the people who are watching, and they should be watching this in a public hearing through the legislative process, but instead we're doing it on the Senate floor today. But the people deserve to know what this is. They should be able to judge whether this is good or bad. And also, importantly, I should be able to judge whether it's good or bad. Madam President, I have to vote on this. I have to decide whether this is something legitimate to vote yes on or no. How do I do that when I can't know the information? What's even more concerning is how can people that are in the majority that put this bill together vote on it? Maybe you have to care about what's actually in the bill to be concerned about whether or not it's a good expenditure. Let's just move on to the next one. How about this? This is interesting. And I want to just make a clarification. I know the good chairman mentioned that this item was contained in the budget, but it was contained in the budget in other vague terms and for an entirely different amount. And to this day, no one's actually discussed on the record in any way, shape, or form how that money is going to be used in any specificity that could matter to anyone. And this is a similar item. This is Section 7, and this is another, we're grabbing from the other expenses line of the Office and Policy Management, $2.5 million. And I know that this was already stated to be $3.2 million or something in a budget document previously. But that still begs the question, $2.5 million shall be made available, get this folks, for outdoor recreation in the city of Hartford. So through you, Madam President, I would like the same questions. Who is asking for this? I don't think we got that on the last one. Who is asking? Which lawmaker? Who in this room? There's 36 senators. This didn't appear magically. Someone asked for it. Who was that? And what's this money going to be used for? $2.5 million for outdoor recreation. I mean, are we buying people basketballs or tennis rackets? I mean, it's a lot of basketballs. $2.5 million of taxpayer money people work very hard for that comes out of their paychecks. Through you, Madam President, can I just ask, who sponsored this? What is the money for? Through you.
Thank you, Senator Osten.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Again, I don't know who sponsored this particular dollar amount, but outdoor recreation in the city of Hartford, this helps cover the costs of students to attend outdoor recreation, allowing them to attend programs all summer long. Through you.
Thank you, Senator Sampson.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I hope that people who are watching are listening very carefully to my questions and the answers. Are the answers in line with my questions? Is there enough specificity there to satisfy anyone of where $2.5 million tax dollars are going to vanish off to in some black hole? I don't think so. I'm just curious, through you, Madam President, you said you weren't certain who asked for this. Who makes the decision of whether it actually ends up in this document? Through you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Osten.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I believe that there were questions from agencies on where certain dollars were going, and so I believe that this is an answer to some of those questions. Through you.
Thank you, Senator Sampson.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I'm not having a good batting average here. I think I would be certainly sent back to the minors based on how I'm getting as far as my answers to my questions, but I'm going to try one more. There are a number of these items, but I think folks that are watching get the picture, but we'll just ask one more for the heck of it. Section 11 of the bill, and of course, we didn't have to dig far. I think I'm on page 2 of a 121-page document. This says that $330,000 from the Department of Economic Development from their other expenses line should go to a grant to an organization called Our Piece of the Pie. $330,000 is a pretty sizable piece of pie, in my view, And I would love to know exactly who this organization is, who asked for this particular earmark, what the money will be used for. Through you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Osten.
I'm sorry, Madam President.
We can have Senator Sampson.
Could you please just give me the
ask
Reader's
that.
Digest version of what you just said? Which question were you asking again, sir? I apologize.
And thank you very much, Madam President. I'd be delighted to repeat the question. I'm now on page 2 of the 121-page document under Section 11, which specifies that 330,000 hard-earned dollars taken in the form of taxation from the residents of Connecticut will be used to go to provide a grant to an organization called Our Piece of the Pie. And I'd just be curious what this organization is, what activities are they involved in, who, once again, asked for this legislation, and finally, how is this money going to be used? Through you.
Senator Osten.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Our Piece of the Pie is a youth service organization. It's actually been in many parts of the state. Right now, it is mostly in the Hartford area. It's a youth services organization. It works with a lot of at-risk youth to get them through and sometimes educational shortfalls that they may be having. They used to be down in Norwich. They don't happen to be down in Norwich anymore, but they used to be in Norwich. And this $330,000 is to extend programming to other youth in the Hartford area, serving the greater Hartford region. And so sort of to talk about the question that's relative to who, when, where did this come from, this is looking at questions that agencies have had for our biennial budget, and those items could have come from the governor's office, they could have come from the House, they could have come from the Senate. So I don't know exactly where these individual items came from on any one of these questions. Through you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Sampson.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I think that was very informative. Well, maybe it was very instructive rather than informative. I mean, we know that this organization, Our Piece of the Pie, was no longer in Norwich. That was very helpful. We don't know where they're located now, though, do we? Through you, Madam President.
Senator Osten.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam President. They're in the Hartford region. Hartford and the surrounding communities. They serve students in the surrounding communities based in Hartford. Through you.
Thank you, Senator Sampson.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I want to just quickly pause and say I mean no disrespect to the recipients of these dollars, by the way. They may do tremendous work. You know, the question is not whether or not these are legitimate items, although that question has come up. And I think it's going to come up a whole lot more as we begin to dig into these a little bit more thoroughly. But the issue is not whether they are actually doing good work. It's about whether or not we know what the heck they're doing before we cast a vote. Whether we've actually done our homework, whether we've actually represented our constituents. That representation requires that we know, in my view. I don't like to cast votes on legislation I've not seen. If anyone's followed me over the years, I make a big stink when we are given legislation moments before we are requested to vote on it. And this is a similar situation. I got this bill last night. This is the first time I've ever heard of Our Piece of the Pie. And now I'm being asked to vote yes or no about giving them $330,000. These might be the most magnificent people in all of America, but I don't know that. We also were informed that the money was requested for this organization by maybe someone in the House, or maybe someone in the Senate, maybe someone from the moon. We don't know. You've got no answer. And again, no disrespect to my colleague, but that's not good enough. That is not good enough. Before any money comes from the hardworking people that I represent back home, and that's Republicans and Democrats, that's everybody. They deserve to know how we're spending it. They need to know who asked for it, who approved it, what it's for, in some element of detail other than, well, it's being used for good, Senator, we promise. Because we've been down this road so many times in recent years, this is almost like a repeat of last February 25th as I started my remarks. In fact, if you want to go on YouTube and go watch the debate from February 25th of 2025 about earmarks, you're going to hear me asking a lot of the same questions and complaining that I'm not getting the answers. We've also held several press conferences in this building in front of the media explaining our dissatisfaction with the lack of answers and the concern over the fact that this money could not be used for corrupt purposes. Did that make sense? Could be used for corrupt purposes? Could not be? You get the picture. We don't know what it's being used for. And the fact of the matter is we deserve to know. But you see, the majority, frankly, they don't care. They didn't matter that I questioned this last time. It didn't matter that we held several press conferences. It doesn't matter that we're here today making a big argument over it. It doesn't matter. It's only going to matter when the people of Connecticut are tired of it. I don't know when that's going to happen. I don't. I hope it happens today. It should have happened a long time ago in my mind. People need to start caring about what their representatives are doing, and guess what? When that happens, those representatives are going to care about what those people think. Until then, they're going to do things like this because they can. So with that, Madam President, I'm going to make an effort to improve this situation. The clerk is in possession of an amendment. It's LCO 2258. I ask that the clerk call this amendment and I be given leave of the chamber to summarize.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
LCO number 2258, Senate Amendment D.
Thank you. Senator, let's get it on the board, and then Senator Sampson, you may proceed as soon as we have the amendment number. Senator Sampson.
Thank you very much, Madam President. This amendment is entitled, well, actually, the amendment title is the same as the bill title. I apologize. We refer to this as our earmark improvement amendment inside the Senate Republican caucus. It's designed to prevent corruption. It's designed to improve transparency. It's designed to allow the people of Connecticut to make sure that they have the necessary information about what is happening in their state government. I will just briefly go through some of the requirements that are going to be initiated with this amendment, which is that if there are future earmark requests similar to the ones we've been talking about, the information will have to be submitted by the member of this legislature asking for it to the Appropriations Committee with a written request that includes the amount of funds requested, the necessity for those amounts that are requested, a clear description of the public purpose for which this money is being used. And I'll just make a side note that some of my concern is that I feel that some of this money is being directed to organizations that are not using it for a public purpose. They may, in fact, be using it for political advocacy, which would be a complete and utter misuse of taxpayer money. That request should also include the requester, the person who's actually asking for it. It's one of the biggest concerns I have is that the few items that I asked the good chairman about, we did not find out who actually asked for this money. There's an investigation going on right now about a similar earmark that may result in some sort of significant, I don't know what to refer to it as, a finding of fact in a court of law is probably the safest thing I could say at this point. But there's a concern over who's asking for these things to determine whether or not they're actually being directed or misdirected. We don't want that. And there should also be a certification by that person requesting it that they, their family members, or in any business which they are associated have no financial interest in where this money is being directed. There's going to be a requirement that there will be a public hearing associated with each one of these requests. And if a third party receives the funds ultimately not the person necessarily listed, then they have to enter into an actual contract that states the provisions, which are identical to everything that we've just discussed. The grant recipients would also have to state whether or not they have any convictions of its officers or board members or anyone else associated with the organization about any financially related crimes. And finally, they would have to submit to random audits of that money to make sure that it's actually being used for the stated purpose. For me, this is the baseline of what ought to be required. This is not some tremendous overreach, digging into people's private business. This is the bare minimum of what the people I represent deserve to have before their tax money is being used and given to someone else, in my view. And with that, Madam President, I would move adoption of this amendment, and I'd ask for a roll call vote. Thank you.
Will you remark further, Senator Duff?
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I would urge my colleagues to vote no, though I would say that this is an area of particular interest to Senate Democrats because we are already working on legislation. And as been talked about today, this concept, there's a bill already that's moving through the process, through public hearings, and will be voted on by this chamber at some point before the legislative session ends. And I would hope that there would be a bipartisan vote on this idea as well, because it is something that is important to our caucus, this side of the aisle as well, and one that we feel does deserve to go through the process so we can hear from the public, we can hear input, we can make the idea better, and one that we feel is very important as well. So I look forward to having a strong vote when the bill makes its way through the process later on this session. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Will you remark further on the amendment? If not, the machine is open. Mr. Clerk, kindly call the vote on the amendment.
An immediate roll call vote has been ordered in the Senate. We're voting on Senate Amendment D of Senate Bill number 298. An immediate roll call vote has been ordered in the Senate on Senate Amendment D. This is not the bill. We're voting on Senate Amendment D of Senate Bill number 298. An immediate roll call vote in the Senate on Senate Amendment D of Senate Bill number 298. An immediate roll call vote in the Senate.
Mr. Clerk, would you please give us the tally?
Senate Amendment D, Senate Bill 298. Total number voting 36, total voting yea 11, total voting nay 25, absent not voting 0.
Amendment fails. Will you remark further on the bill?